most of Klang Valley under EMCO from 3rd to 16 July. District Police Chiefs to lead nationwide Pato beginning tomorrow. Good evening and thanks for joining us. You're watching News at 10. My name is Muhammad Amin Carlos. Well, Malaysia has recorded over 6,000 new COVID-19 cases daily for the third straight day, as 6,988 new infections were reported over the past 24 hours. Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Noor Hisham Abdullah said only 5 of them were imported, while the remaining were all local transmissions. Well, Selangor remains the state with the highest number of daily cases, with 2,885 cases reported, followed by Kuala Lumpur with 988 cases and Negeri Sembilan 692 cases. Meanwhile, 5,580 recoveries were recorded, bringing the total recovery tally to 688,260, equivalent to a 90.68% recovery rate. Following this development, there are currently 65,453 active cases being monitored by the MOH. This includes 917 cases treated in intensive care units or ICUs, with 445 of them requiring respiratory aid. The MOH also reported 84 new COVID-19 related deaths in the past 24 hours, taking the country's death toll to 5,254. An enhanced movement control order, EMCO, will be enforced in 34 mukim in Selangor and 14 localities in Kuala Lumpur for 14 days, starting this Saturday until 16 July. And with the implementation of the EMCO, all entry points into the affected areas will be closed and guarded by PDRM. Meanwhile, Senior Minister for Security, Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob, in a statement said all residents in the EMCO areas will be forbidden to leave their homes except for one person at a time to buy necessities in a 10-kilometer radius from their respective homes. But being outside of homes after 8 p.m. is not allowed, with the exception of emergencies or with approval from PDRM. Purchase of food via takeaway, drive-through and delivery is allowed. Moreover, inter-district travel, however, is also allowed for vaccination by showing the details of the appointment in the My Sejahtera application. The Health Ministry will conduct targeted screenings onto the residents in affected areas. Now, all sports, social, recreational and culture activities are prohibited throughout the duration of the EMCO. Well, the Home Ministry has empowered district police chiefs to lead a major nationwide operation dubbed Pato, starting tomorrow, to check on standard operating procedure or SOP compliance at workplaces and business premises, with a focus on the COVID-19 hotspot states of Selangor and Kuala Lumpur. The Home Minister, Datuk Sri Hamzah Zainuddin, said the district police chiefs or OCPDs would act as ground commanders to coordinate the operation, which will be conducted jointly with other enforcement agencies.
Kita minta pemetaan kawasan tumpuan yang banyak kilang-kilang dan hostel. Jadi besok kita akan lakukan dengan fokus diberikan kawasan-kawasan tersebut. Pelaksanaan patuh juga akan mengambil kira maklumat pemetaan dan juga aduan-aduan yang kita terima dalam Facebook kita, melalui war room kita dan melalui agensi-agensi maklumat perisikan, kerana special branch kita juga turun ke bawah.
The COVID-19 Movement Control Order SOP Compliance and Enforcement Coordination Committee, or JKPS, had set several key performance indicators or KPIs for the OCPDs to monitor the effectiveness and smoothness of OPATO. Dato Sri Hamzah said OCPDs will come out with their Facebook, other media platforms to give live reports to the public for the whole country to see tomorrow. The minister said to ensure the effectiveness of OPATO in Selangor and Kuala Lumpur, JKPS had sought the cooperation of the Selangor government and Kuala Lumpur City Hall, DBKL. About 2 million doses of vaccine are needed to ensure all workers in the construction sector are immunized against COVID-19, thus enabling them to continue contributing to the economy, or rather the economic development of the country. And Works Minister Dato Sri Fadillah Yusof said based on the recent record, now there were almost 1 million construction personnel registered with the Construction Industry Development Board, or CIDB, of which 70% were locals and 30% were foreigners. Dato Sri Fadillah said the ministry is actively carrying out the immunization process for workers in the sector through the construction industry vaccination program under CIDB, a collaborative effort by the government and the private sector to expedite inoculation for the group. He said CIDB had opened the vaccine registration for all construction personnel in Kuala Lumpur, Selangor and Putrajaya on 21st June, and all slots were fully booked in less than 24 hours, which showed that industry players were very concerned and prepared to ensure their workers are vaccinated.
Dalam sektor pembinaan ada 1 juta lebih pekerja. Tapi yang kita dapat laksanakan hari ini iaitu 40,000 hanya fokus pada zon tengah, iaitu ialah Persekutuan dengan juga Selangor. Di mana CIDB Convention Center Ceras ini akan mengendalikan 20,000. Satu lagi akan dikendalikan di kompleks Sukan Negara Panasonic di Shah Alam. Another 20,000 ini akan fokus kepada negeri Selangor nanti. Dan untuk itu juga kita sebenarnya dah memohon tambahan sebanyak 100,000 lagi disebabkan sambutan yang begitu baik daripada construction industry. Dan kalau ini diluluskan nanti, maka program ini akan dilanjutkan bukan saja untuk wilayah Persekutuan dan Selangor, tapi lepas ini akan dilanjutkan ataupun dipanjangkan pada Johor, Penang dan juga Pahang untuk zon pantai timur, zon utara dan zon selatan. Dan sebenarnya nanti akan pergi ke Sabah dan Sarawak.
Well, a total of 27 industrial vaccination centers, or PPVs, are allowed to operate so far, involving over 373,000 workers. National COVID-19 Immunization Program PICK Coordinating Minister Khairi Jamaluddin said the government has made the decision to also distribute the vaccines to the plantation and commodity sector, making the total amount of sectors to receive the doses via the industrial PPVs to 4, including the manufacturing, transportation and construction sectors. Explaining further, Khairi said the decision was reached at a meeting with the COVID-19 Immunization Task Force, CITF.
Ini kita percaya bahawa sebahagian besar daripada sektor-sektor ekonomi yang beroperasi sewaktu PKP akan diberi perlindungan vaksin. Kita sedang memperhalusi perancangan daripada sektor-sektor lain seperti sektor peruncitan dan juga sektor pelancongan yang mungkin akan kita mulakan kemudian.
The minister said this after visiting the vaccination center at the CIDB Convention Center in Kuala Lumpur. Well, a total of 468 suicide cases were reported in the first 5 months of this year. And in a statement by PDRM's Director of Criminal Investigation Department, or CID, Dato Sri Abdul Jalil Hassan, on average, 2 suicide cases happened every day since 2019 until May this year. Well, Dato Sri Abdul Jalil said since 2019 until May this year, there were 1,708 cases reported involving 1,427 women and 281 men. He added that the three main reasons why these incidents happened are family problems, mental health issues, and financial issues. 872 cases that were reported involving teenagers aged between 15 and 18 years old, and 668 cases for young adults aged 19 to 40 years old. Well, police reminded the public to continue to play their role in helping those in need to curb suicide cases. Well, 3 individuals, including 2 Indonesians, were detained in a raid at a house in Kota Tinggi, Johor last night. Well, Johor Deputy Police Chief Dato Kau Kok Chin said the police also seized 47,600 ecstasy pills worth over 856,000 ringgit. They also took cash and a 4-wheel drive vehicle. Dato Kau said those detained included a local aged 24 years old who is also a boat skipper and 2 Indonesian men aged 51 and 60 years old. He added they have been actively smuggling drugs to the neighboring countries.
Mereka sebagai transporter, dia bawa barang tu, dia bayar upah untuk hantarkan kepada B3 yang memang duduk di rumah tumpangan dengan salah sebuah rumah di Sungai Rengit di Pengarang. Jadi ini mereka sebagai bukan duduk satu rumah, tapi 2 dari sini hantar barang ke sana untuk B3 proses hantar ke negara jiran.
The detainees are being remanded until 2nd July to facilitate investigations under Section 39B of Dangerous Drugs Act 1952. Coming up, National 4IR policy to drive socio-economic transformation via advanced tech. Well, a total of 741 candidates of the Sijil Tinggi Persekolahan Malaysia, or SCPM, in 2020 scored the cumulative grade points average, or CGPA, of 4.0, or also known as 4 flat, a slight decrease compared to 802 candidates in 2019. Well, the Malaysian Examinations Council MEC member Professor Dato Dr. Wahid Razali said of the total, 23 scored 5 A's in all 5 subjects taken, and 718 candidates scored 4 A's. He said the national CGPA for the SCPM 2020 examination rose to 2.78 from 2.77 in 2019. However, he said in terms of the candidates' overall performance, the achievements of the SCPM 2020 candidates are considered the same as that of the SCPM 2019 because the improvement is small.
calon atau 1.72% calon telah mendapat PNGK 4.00. Dan daripada 741 calon ini, 554 ataupun 74.76% daripadanya adalah dalam golongan B40. Walau bagaimanapun, bilangan calon yang mendapatkan PNGK 4.00 ini telah berkurangan sebanyak 61 calon daripada 802 calon yang mendapat PNGK 4.00 pada tahun 2019.
Professor Dr. Wahid also said the percentage of candidates who obtained a full pass in 5 and 4 subjects decreased to 72.97% from 73.67% in 2019. He added that the gap between the performance of urban and rural candidates is also the same as SCPM 2019, which is 0.02 points. Meanwhile, the newly introduced Tahfiz al-Quran subject saw 63 out of the 69 candidates successfully memorizing the 30 sections of the Quran. Well, the National Fourth Industrial Revolution Policy, or National 4IR policy, launched today, is set to transform Malaysia into a high-income nation driven by the most advanced 4IR technology and digitalization. Now, Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Economy, Dato' Sri Mustafa Mohamad, said through the policy, the Malaysian Wellbeing Index is targeted to increase to 136.5 in 2030 compared with 124.4 recorded in 2018.
Malaysia juga disasarkan untuk berada pada kedudukan 20 teratas dalam Global Innovation Index pada tahun 2030 serta mencapai peningkatan 30% produktiviti merentas semua sektor berbanding pada tahun 2020.
He explained that the policy comprised of 4 core thrusts targeting 3 main groups, namely people, businesses and government. The 4 thrusts, he said, would include preparing the people with knowledge and skill sets related to 4IR shape the country with connectivity through digital infrastructure development, provide appropriate and flexible rules in line with technological change, and expedite innovation and adaptation of 4IR technology. He noted that these thrusts would become the guidelines for the ministries and agencies in drafting programs related to 4IR and would be implemented and guided by 16 strategies, 32 national initiatives, and 60 sectoral initiatives that have been identified. The decision to allow withdrawals of funds via the iCitra initiative was made due to the financial challenges faced by the contributors because of COVID-19. Well, according to Employees Provident Fund or EPF Chief Executive Officer Dato' Sri Amir Hamzah Azizan, the management will strive to ensure smooth liquidation of funds from the previous iSina and iLestari transactions.
We are here and we're mandated to help people look after retirement. But we also understand that the COVID pandemic is an unusual circumstance. At the end of the day, there are realities of life now that are driving early access along the way. It didn't rock the liquidity as much. We can manage. So long as it's planned, so long as we can see that our portfolio can adjust along the way.
Explaining on the matter via a virtual conference, he said compared to iSinar, the iCitra initiative will involve the contributors' savings in their second account or account 2. The funds in account 1 will only be used if the funds in the second account are not enough. To date, 80 billion ringgit has been paid off to contributors via the iLestari and iSina withdrawal initiatives. The Department of Islamic Development Malaysia, JAKIM, and Yayasan Wakaf Malaysia, YWM, have channeled a total of 9.7 million ringgit from the Musa'adah Fund to the poor and those impacted by COVID-19. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Religious Affairs, Dato' Dr. Zulkifli Muhammad Al-Bakri, informed through a Facebook posting that the fund had amassed 13.4 million ringgit in donations. He added that from the amount, the remaining 3.7 million ringgit has yet to be distributed. Understanding the focus and objectives of the federal government in ensuring the welfare of the rakyat, he expressed commitment to continue the COVID-19 Musa'adah Fund initiative to those who need it. The funds were donations received from Program Musa'adah 1.0 and 2.0 from March last year up to June this year. In total, the total amount distributed from the Musa'adah Fund to date is 160.4 million ringgit. Meanwhile, Dato' Dr. Zulkifli invited private individuals, corporate companies and Malaysians to contribute to the fund. In a related development, Dato' Dr. Zulkifli believes that the People's Protection and Economic Recovery Package, or PEMULE, can help the rakyat to continue their survival and pull through these tough times. Well, in a statement, he also said the Musa'adah COVID-19 Fund will be continued to help people from all walks of life. Now, with the comprehensive PEMULE financial support worth 150 billion ringgit, the rakyat will be able to make necessary purchases to ensure their basic needs are met. Dato' Dr. Zulkifli added that the laments and complaints of those impacted are a major attention point amongst the members of the cabinet in facing the recovery phase. Well, meanwhile, the Musa'adah Fund, which was launched in March last year, has seen an expenditure of over 500 million ringgit as of June this year. Now, this involves aid in the form of cash, business funds, skills training, food banks, healthcare donations, and medical apparatus. It also encompasses construction and repair of homes, as well as laptop donations, which receive cooperation from the Islamic Council and state Islamic departments. The government will support any form of initiatives to help those in dire needs due to the COVID-19 pandemic, as long as it will not be used as a political tool. Domestic, or rather Deputy Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Minister Dato' Sri Rosul Wahid said the government also supported the Bendera Putih movement.
Semalam saya dimaklumkan juga ada juga sebahagiannya ada 45 tempat, ada 45 orang yang naik bendera putih di Taman Tun. Saya tahu sama ada betul tak betul dia itu memang memerlukan. Tapi kalau itu sebagai satu usaha untuk mendapat bantuan, maka kita alu-alukan. Tapi kalau ada orang klaim bahawa ni usaha menunjukkan bahawa mereka ni anti kerajaan dan sebagainya, maka itu satu tindakan yang tidak wajar lah, tidak wajar.
Dato' Rosul was met after handing over groceries to community representatives of Kampung Pasir Raja Hulu in Jungun under the Malaysian Food Bank program, PFBM. And Andy Murray battled back from a 2-1 deficit to defeat German qualifier Oscar Otte and reach the Wimbledon third round on Wednesday. Well, former number one Murray triumphed 6-3, 4-6, 4-6, 6-4, 6-2 over the 151st ranked Otte under the roof of centre court. Now, the British star, playing in the singles event for the first time since 2017 and ranked a lowly 118 after a battle against hip and groin injuries, avoided what would have been his earliest exit from the tournament. Now, before Wednesday, Murray had never lost a Grand Slam match to a player ranked as low as number 151. Otte had never been beaten before the third round at all the England club. Now, when the match had to be briefly halted at 2-2 in the fourth set, as gathering gloom meant the roof had to be closed so the contest could continue under floodlights, it seemed as if Murray was on the verge of losing both of those personal milestones on day 3 of the championships. Now, that stoppage allowed 118th ranked Murray, playing on his wildcard this year, to gather his thoughts and change his tactics as he won 10 of the next 14 games to book a third round meeting with Canadian 10th seed Denis Shapovalov. Well, that concludes this evening's news at 10. And our top story, well, most of Klang Valley under EMCO from 3rd to 16th July. Well, folks, do join us again at 12:30 tomorrow afternoon. I'm Mohammed Amin Carlos. Stay tuned to Saluran Berita RTM and have a pleasant evening. Stay safe.